Right, join us here today. I've got someone sat next to me today. Jamie's here, sat next to me, and he's dragged me along to the wonderful
Church Fishery.
Church Fishery.
In Birmingham.
Near Birmingham, yeah.
Near Birmingham, on the outskirts of
Yeah,
Birmingham.
yeah. So, just going to have a little pleasure day today. Going to shot bomb and pellet out, and hopefully we'll catch a few fish.
Yeah.
And you want me to talk about, what do you want me to talk about?
All your results, what you've been up to, what you've got coming up,
Yeah.
and everything else
Yeah,
in between.
so we haven't been out for a while, and
It's been a while, isn't it?
we're having a little catch up, what I've been up to, what I've got coming up, and have a chat while we fish. So,
Just for you guys at home, I literally have a whole page full of notes of everything he's qualified for and everything he's got coming up, because it's an insane list, and we'll go through it. Like I said, today is a little bit less about the fishing, although he's going to be fishing in the background, but it's going to be more having a bit of a catch up. We haven't had a catch up for a while, so it'll give you guys a chance at home to see what he's been up to and what he's got coming up and everything else in between. So, should we get going?
Yeah.
So, I've got a page of notes here, like I said, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Because
We're not going to go into every match. Just
we're
sort
not
of
going to go into
pick
every
it-
match.
pick-
We'll pick and choose some of the big ones, but I'm just going to reel off some of the things that he's done only this year. Just bear in mind. So, if we cast our minds back, right back to the beginning of the year, you qualified for the Angling Trust Silverfish Final at Moorlands Farm. You then qualified at Larford for the Golden Rod Final, which was £76. You then qualified for the Feeder Masters Final. That was at Tamar. And you,
JCB.
no, yeah.
What was it?
Excuse me, JCB.
Yeah,
you,
the qualifier at JCB.
you
Yeah.
qualified for the Feeder Masters
Yeah.
at Tamar at JCB.
Yeah, sorry.
There you go.
Yeah.
With £102.
Yeah.
And then in four consecutive weeks, back to back, he then qualified for Fishermania at Monk Lakes. You then qualified for the Maiden Match this final at Hayfield, which the final was at Hayfield, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the week after that, you qualified for the Golden Reel on Spesty Lake with £304. So you are the defending champion for that one, aren't you?
Yeah, we'll give it another go. Yeah.
And then the week after that, qualified for the Garbalino Feeder Champs at Tamar, and you won that match with 20 kilos because Tamar's fishing.
Fishing well, yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
20 kilos is a hell of a weight for that venue, isn't it? And then after that, after those 4 consecutive weeks of mad qualifiers, you then went to the Fishermania Final, which we'll talk about a bit more in detail a bit later on. You then had the Garbalino Feeder Champs Final at Tamar, which you qualified for earlier on in the year, and you come third in that. And then you qualified for the Fish Midlands semi-final, and you won that lake with £121. And then that brings us up to the present day. That brings us up to the present day, which you've got coming this weekend, and we'll get more into that a bit later on.
Ooh.
So
Tips all over the place. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So, if you cast your mind back as early as, we'll talk about the Golden Rod qualifier at Larford Lakes was £76. Do you remember much about that?
That was right back in the middle of winter. Yeah. I think. I was actually lucky enough to draw an MPEG, which is quite often, more often than not, what you need at
It was on the
Larford.
match day, wasn't it?
On the match day, yeah. Oh, there's a fish.
And with the
There was
Golden
a
Rod,
fish.
you only need to win essentially a 20 peg match, isn't it? Because you're fishing against 20 peg zone.
20 peg zone, yeah. So, yeah.
So essentially, you're only fishing against 20 other anglers in order to qualify for the
Yeah,
final.
it's a nice format because you're not going all out to win the match. When it's just a zone of 20, it's like fishing a little knock-up like this, and you're just fishing against 20 other people, and you've got more of a chance. More people qualify for the final.
I suppose when you've got these big money qualifiers, you really need that one peg, don't you, that's going to win it. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. Whereas in the Golden Reel, you're fishing in zones with other pegs around you.
And sometimes, likes of Fishing Mania matches and everything, if you don't win, you're sort of going home.
Yeah, and no matter how as you do.
So,
it's a bit of a journey home for you, aren't it?
Yeah, especially where I live. I mean, the closest qualifying venue these days is probably about 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And more often than
you quite
not,
literally have been up and down the country, haven't you?
Like yesterday, I was at Hayfield. That's over 4 hours journey for me. But
I thought I lived out in the sticks.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it never used to be like that. We used to have I remember qualifying at Stafford Moor and used to have qualifiers at Whitey because loads of venues in
There
the
used to be
southwest,
quite a lot of-
Willinghurst.
There used to be quite a lot of big matches at
Viaduct
Viaduct as well,
yeah,
didn't there?
yeah. But now it's more sort of northern based. It means more travelling for me. I think they've sort of bit themselves in the bum, if you like, because they're narrowing it down to that sort of Midlands northern region to sell more tickets, but then in the long run, people from like Somerset and Southwest,
It's a little bit harder for them, yeah.
they're not going to bother in the end. But if they've got a venue on their doorstep, they're more likely to travel to other venues, and
Yeah.
it,
No, I know what you mean, yeah.
it increases that. But
That moved us on, so that was the Golden Rod final. Not the final, the qualifier, which you qualified at Larford.
yeah,
And you then fished the Feeder Masters qualifier at JCB, and you won that for £102,
yeah, that
most
was
of which was on the left feeder.
yeah.
Remember what time of year was that?
I remember it was warm. It was probably sort of May, I think.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, around May. Must have been.
And you joined the same peg.
JCB, if you don't know, is sort of like a members only thing, but we're fortunate to have qualifiers there, and it's like a proper lovely lake. It's JCB headquarters. You've got a massive big building there.
Wait. Easy.
You've even got like a posh helipad in a big building there. It's,
Oh, wow.
It's like a proper pretty
I've never been
place
there,
to
I can't
fish.
say.
And that day the water was gin clear, so you can see the
Yeah.
bottom right away out. And when you're playing fish like this, you can see it coming back. And they're a bit of a nightmare because they could see your landing net come in. But it was just a nice place to fish.
Do you remember that? Do you remember if it was that a comfortable win, or was it quite tight close?
I think it was quite comfortable. I think I had a low 100.
£102, yeah.
I think second in my zone was Penn, and he had about £70, I think.
And you drew the same peg that you actually
I'd
won off a couple of years before.
It was a good peg. I drew it 2 years before, won the match again there. It's got like a bit of a spit that comes out in the middle of the lake, and it's just a comfortable sort of chuck off the end of the spit. It's about 40 metres. But yeah, Penn was second in my zone, and probably qualifies for the final now because I've qualified for the Golden Reel, which is on the same day.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's such a horrible feeling qualifying for a final
And not being able to make it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the third time it's happened.
It's a
now.
tough one.
So yeah, that was JCB, nice day.
And then you went on a bit of a mad hatted run.
This fish has gone on a mad hat run as well. There's some tree roots down there that keeps going in. So yeah, next up, what was it?
You had
Fisherman-
those 4 consecutive
Yeah,
weeks of
so that's
doing typical power stuff, what I like to say. So you started off qualifying at Monk Lakes.
yeah. So my goal every
Fisherman,
year
yeah.
is to qualify for the big money finals, and it involves a lot of travelling around. And so after sort of 3-4 months of not really getting much luck, it all sort of started to change, beginning with Fishermania at Monk Lakes.
I remember you sending me your results, and it was every week you qualified for something else. It was unbelievable.
So, that's a nice chunky fish.
So like I say, you do put in your fair share of miles to
Yeah,
qualify, so he does deserve everything that comes to him. So
I
I'll give you credit
suppose
for that.
fishing's what you make of it, really. If you want to put all the effort in, eventually you're going to get rewarded for
Well,
it.
exactly. You get out of it what you put in, don't you? So. Do you remember much about the Monk Lakes?
Yeah, so it was. Don't know if you remember, the weather this year has been a bit abysmal at the start of the year. It took a long time to warm up.
It went a bit bipolar for a while, didn't it?
Yeah, so this was sort of one of the warmer days, and I wasn't on an M peg, but I was sort of one out of the corner, a bit like this today, and the sun came out just before the start of the match, and these big fish started cruising around,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was my favourite sort of type of fishing, really, when you're spotting fish and waiting for them to swim past and just flicking the rig in front of them. So I caught a few fish sort of,
Mugging.
yeah, cruising fish that I could see. And then later on I fed a line shallow, I've caught a few fish shallow. And then they've come in short, close in, when it's slowed down a little bit, and I've caught on the bottom with pellets.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't remember the weights. Was it 200 and something? Yeah.
Something like that, yeah. I don't know whether you guys at home have ever watched some of Andy Power's mugging videos, but I don't think there really is anyone better at it. As soon as you start seeing them on the top, you love it, don't you?
Yeah, it's just like a little kid again. It's like fishing, when you're a kid fishing floating across, there's nothing better really, is there?
You stick it in front of his nose, it comes up, gets it. Elastic pulls out the end.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the week after that was the Maver Match This.
Yeah. Maybe match this final.
Instantly where the final is as well.
Yeah.
Which,
So-
at the time of recording this video, the final for that is this weekend.
Yeah, a few days time.
By the time this video comes out, you would have known what happened, but at the moment we don't.
No. So I drew on the island lake, the big lake with the island, and I've been there a few times on qualifiers, and Adams had been fishing better, so I wasn't quite sure, but it drew peg 21, which is quite a good peg. It's sort of on the point of the island, you've got a little bit of a shallow area, loads of space, and I've started on the pole shallow again, just like I did on Monk Lakes, but probably slapping the rig a bit more because I couldn't see him very well.
Yeah.
I've caught loads of fish to begin with, shallow on the pole. It's been good for sort of 3 hours or so. Probably had like £150 halfway through. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Slowed down a little bit, and then the last hour the fish sort of seemed to move a bit further out, and where I've been pinging a few 8mm, I could see them coming up, and I've switched to a waggler then.
Hayfield's very deep, if I remember correctly, isn't it?
Yeah, in some places you've got, well, 15 foot on the far bank where I was. So yeah, you can. There's a lot of sort of water for them to hide in, if you like.
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
there?
yeah.
You've got to find the right depth to catch in at Hayfield, because they can be a foot deep, or they can be
I thought that was that duck for a moment. I flew off just as you struck.
they can be 5 or 6 foot deep sometimes. You've got to swap and change and find the right depth that they're feeding at.
Yeah,
And that day they were feeding really shallow.
yeah,
And there were a lot of new fish as well that had been stocked from a few years ago, and they're sort of 3, 4, 5 pound now, and really sort of hungry feeding fish. So it's really nice to see sort of the change in the venue where the fishing's improved with a few
Oh,
new
damn right,
fish.
yeah.
So yeah.
Do you remember? Obviously, that was Match This. I suppose for Match This and Fishermania, do you remember how many tries you had in it before you qualified? Roughly.
Well, Fishermania, that was probably, I'd imagine I would have at least fished about 10.
Before that, before
Yeah.
you qualified, because you qualified quite late, didn't you?
Yeah, they came along like buses really. It had been a very long, tiring year, and
Yeah,
a lot of early mornings and travelling on the weekend, and eventually it all sort of come together. But before then, I think I only had really one chance of qualifying.
yeah,
Like you look back at your match and you think, could I have actually won the match then? And I think there's only one match that I could have, and that was at Makins. I think I come second or third.
yeah,
So yeah, when I come away from a match, I think, right, what could I have done differently?
yeah.
Could I have qualified? And that's the way you sort of learn, really.
What goes into preparing those sort of matches, those big qualifiers? Do you get a lot of information from elsewhere, or do you intend to know a lot about the venue anyway?
No,
No?
I just turn up.
You just turn up and
Yeah.
swing it.
The best way, honestly, is just to turn up.
Yeah.
I mean,
Do you go there with knowing what you roughly want to do, or do you take everything under the kitchen sink and choose when you're there?
I literally just draw my peg, maybe ask if it's any good, maybe if I know a regular, see if is this peg any good. I don't go into tactics, because obviously they're there to win the match as well.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell me everything.
No.
And to be fair, I don't always want to fish like the locals. I mean, imagine a venue like this, there's a lot of paste anglers.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I don't fish paste all the time, so I'm not going to do it. I'm going to fish pellets.
Exactly. If you fish what everyone else does, you're just going to match them, aren't you? But
Yeah.
the idea is you want to beat them. So
But I guess my advice would be just to sort of turn up at your peg, see right what's going to be my winning method today. I've got an island in front of me, I can target that. It's a warm day, I can fish shallow. Margins, how
so
do
you
they
do
plumb
take
up?
everything with you to make sure
Yeah,
it's cover all bases.
You sort of plumb up, have a look at your peg and see what can I do here. But don't be afraid to try like weird things, because
Yeah, sometimes you don't know.
sometimes the sort of weirdest thing can work. It might be something you've never done before.
Exactly. And the locals wouldn't know because they haven't tried it.
No.
So-
So if it's not working, you can sort of experiment and try and make things happen. But more often than not, if you win the match, it's going to be the simplest method.
Yeah.
More often than not, something simple like fishing pellets on the bottom or fishing shallow.
What about practices then? Do you tend to go out for practices, or I suppose you did before finals, no? Before the big finals?
No, I mean, a lot of that's to do with where I live. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't.
It's not like you can just nip out your front door and
No,
hour down the road,
I
is
mean,
it?
yesterday I fished a practice match at Hayfield, but it's 4 hours away. But I'm literally only going on that one day just
Yeah.
for a practice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like Fishing Mania was the same. I went up for 3 days on a shot, just so I could stay up there, have a little look, see if it's changed at all. But as for going like every other weekend before a final, I'm not doing that because I live too far away.
Yeah.
And to be fair, if you I've done it in the past before where I've travelled up when it used to be at Cudmore. I'd go like 10 or 12 times in practice, and when it comes to the final, you draw a peg that you haven't got a chance of winning on anyway, and you've wasted half your summer. So I'd rather
win the
just
50 grand and you spent the 50 grand on petrol getting up
yeah, exactly. It comes a complete waste of time, doesn't it? It's going down the edge again, isn't it?
there.
Anyway,
Every fish you've had's gone down there.
in my own fishing, I think, a lot of these, the reason because I'm fishing these big money matches is sort of to get that potential return, really. If you're if you're wasting it on fuel and whatever practicing, then it's not really gonna get a good return, is it? If you're wasting thousands of pounds on petrol and whatever else.
Just while we're here playing a fish, it is worth noting, guys, that Albert Church, the rules here are strictly fishery nets only, so that's hence why he's using that landing net.
Got a nice yellow one.
Exactly.
Yeah, matches my eyes.
Wouldn't normally be using that, but obviously Albert Church is strictly fishery nets only, so we have to use that, unfortunately. What do you think of this fishery? You've been here, you fished here once, didn't you?
Once before on the
And that
same.
was the north versus south video, wasn't
Yeah.
it? That we filmed.
Well, it's been reasonably kind to us. The south
I think it's a brilliant fishery.
yeah, the south were victorious, weren't they, after 2 days?
Oh yeah.
Do you mean, oh yeah? Yeah, there's loads of fish in here, isn't there?
I'm in the east, so I don't really know who I support, north or south.
Ah,
So
south, obviously.
yeah, I suppose so. I think it's
South
close to the
east, isn't it?
south, so. But going into the preparation thing again, you really are a stickler for rigs, hook lengths, and all sorts, aren't you? I've looked in your hook length box.
I don't think it's because I have to be. I fish so many different venues across the country. I need to be prepared. I mean,
I remember you telling me, how
My-
many hook
my-
lengths do you get through in a match sometimes?
at least 15, isn't it? If you've got an inkling that your hook is blunt, you've got to change it.
Yeah.
There's no point keeping it on, is there?
So you
And if
literally
you
tie hook
if you
lengths every
lose a
night.
fish,
Yeah.
just change it. It
Yeah.
only takes seconds. But I don't feel like I'm definitely not a tackle tart. I mean, I think my kit's a complete mess, but I am prepared for anything.
What's the saying? You
It's
prepare- you
it's organised
fail to
chaos. I
prepare,
think.
you're prepared to fail, that's
Yeah.
what they say, isn't it? So that was where are we up to? So you've just done the Hayfield qualifier
Yeah.
for the Move Match this, and then you've got the Golden Reel final.
Qualifier was at
Qualifier.
Larford.
You qualified at Larford.
Qualified at Larford the week
Um,
after.
On Specie. That was the week after the Move Match this, and you've done that with £304, which I
Yeah.
can quite believe from the Specie Lake.
The Specie Lake is unbelievable.
Especially
Yeah.
if you draw the right area.
Yeah, I didn't think it was the right area, to be fair. The thing is, you've still got the potential even if you don't think you've drawn the right area. And
Because they can literally come in
yeah.
2 foot from your foot plate, can't they?
So I was expecting like the end. I don't know if you remember that method feeder video we did.
Yeah, we did that
down
in
the
the feeder
bottom
video,
end.
didn't we?
I was expecting the fish to be down there, and I was drawn middle of the Burbank, the middle of the lake. The wind was off my back, and it just didn't look right.
No.
But
But somehow you managed £300
I
from it.
started the match shallow on the pole again, and had a
What were
few.
the weights around you? Do you remember?
There was another £300
So it was
nearby. He's had like 3 empty pegs that side of him, but he's fished a brilliant match and still had £300. But it seems like a lot of fish, but it isn't.
No.
It's not very many fish at all.
Well,
I-
yeah. When
I'm-
you're catching double figures, it
Then-
is double figures, isn't it? Only pretty much.
More than that.
Yeah.
I'm not over exaggerating, but I think I've had 3 fish over £20 down the edge.
Don't take a long to do a £300 weight
No.
without do it.
It's like 4 fish and you've got £100.
And you're the defending champion for that, aren't you? For the Golden Reel.
Yeah, lucky enough to win it last year. It's on a different lake this year, on the same lake I qualified, the Specie Lake.
Okay.
Normally it's on the Match Lake, and now it's on the Specie, and they've moved it slightly later in the year on the same day as Feeder Masters, unfortunately. But hopefully that will change next year.
But you are fishing that one, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm
Defending your title.
going to have a go at that one. So that'll be interesting on the Specie Lake with those big fish.
Another big money one. And then the week after that, again, we're still in those 4 consecutive weeks. The week after that, you qualified for the Garbalino Feeder Champs at Tamar.
Yeah, that was a nice change from all the carp fishing, to be fair.
Gosh, yeah,
'Cause
I bet. To go from catching £300 of £20 carp to catching 20 kilos of
silverfish, yeah.
silverfish.
And
That venue is fishing its nuts off at the moment, though, isn't it?
yeah, well, it does every year, to be fair, especially sort of in the warmer months. And these sort of qualifiers have sort of taken over really on all carp fishing. I used to do a lot of natural water venue fishing and team matches, a lot on rivers, canals, and we even used to fish team matches at Porth. But that's sort of taken over now with commercials, so it's nice to get back on a venue like Tamar. And
Yeah.
I was just sat in the middle of the lake, and it just felt nice, you know, just
I've never been there.
out in the
That's
open, sat in the water. And yeah, it was just a really nice change.
Brilliant
And they'll
venue.
drop back then. So yeah, it was a nice day. 20 kilos little skimmers, and
Yeah.
I won the match and qualified for the Garbalino final.
Which was recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a few weeks ago, and I was third in that
So you come third in the final.
with 52 kilo, I think. I think I won the first day with 30 kilo. It was 2 days, and yeah, I think 30 kilo little fish is
It's mad, isn't it?
yeah. And then the second day, I've drawn an area where they hadn't been catching skimmers, and I had to fish for like roach and perch on a sort of 6 meters out in front of me.
Yeah.
And I had 20 kilo. But I did have a few skimmers later on, but yeah, that put me third. I think Steve Richards won it with 56 kilo, something like that.
He makes it sound so easy, doesn't he?
I'll tell you what, catching small fish short is tiring.
I bet it is, yeah. It's a workout, isn't it?
When a lot of them are only like an ounce a go. It's yeah.
So,
Where are we at?
that's the Garbalino Feeder Champs qualifier and final,
Yeah.
which takes us on to the Fish Midlands. So,
Oh, yeah.
that's a little bit of a different format, that one, isn't it? You qualified for the semi-final. Where was it Makins?
Yeah.
At
So
Makins, £121 on Make 5.
yeah, my calendar had been freed up a little bit, and I've been looking at like Fish Midlands, Fish North, Fish South and everything. I've never entered them before, but I thought I'd sort of wing it and have a little go at makings because I had nothing on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I drew near the island on Lake 5, sort of back in the corner slightly, and had a nice day fishing mainly a pellet waggler to an island.
That's one. No.
It's liner, that is. Let's keep some bait going in.
So yeah, Fish Midlands. What's the format for that? How does that tell the viewers at home how that works?
So that's another one where it's sort of split into sections. So my Lake 5 was a section, and I needed to win the lake to qualify.
Yeah.
So 2 people qualified. Art Hilmy won the other section on a different lake, and I think it goes to a semi-final now. And I think the semi-final, from what I can gather, is you need to come in the top half of that semi-final to qualify for the final.
Okay.
So yeah, that's at Marston Fields. I've only been there once when it first opened, so that should be interesting.
Yeah.
Bit of a different venue.
And the semi-final for that is not long, is it?
That's quite soon. I can't, yeah.
So when this, you may have or may not have already fished that by the time this video comes
Yeah,
out.
maybe.
Not so sure. But we have missed one big one out, and that's the Fish O final,
Oh yeah, Fish O final.
which, as you know, was on TV and a little bit of a mare on TV, didn't they?
I don't know about them there. Yeah, they had a re-weigh, didn't they?
They did,
They had a few weights that were wrong. Yeah, we won't go into
We
it
won't go too much into detail.
Yeah,
but
yeah. We'll leave it at that, really.
what was you thinking going into the Fish O final? Obviously, because you've come second in it twice now, haven't you?
3 times.
3 times.
Yeah. Second last year, wasn't I? So, yeah, I was really keen to qualify for that and give it another go. So I've said I went up for like 3 days practice, and it was pretty similar to before, really.
Yeah.
Nothing had really changed, so it was good. And I was late to draw because I qualified late, and out of what was left, I was quite happy with where I drew on that back bank.
Because you drew Matty's winning peg
Yeah.
from last year,
Yeah,
but obviously the conditions were obviously completely different
yeah,
compared to last year.
completely different wind and conditions.
It was nothing
and
but rain
as-
last year, was it?
As it turned out, I had, who did I have? Christian Jones and I can't remember his name.
But essentially,
I've got to remember. You've got to cut it now.
Dawes pretty much switched pegs, didn't you? So he got your peg from last year, and you got his winning peg from last year.
Yeah,
But it just turns out that the fish were down on Matty's peg this year, which is where next near him was where that got
yeah.
wasn't it?
He was next to the winner, and I think second and third was sort of in the same sort of area, really, same
Yeah.
sort of corner of the lake, and everyone on my bank just seemed to sort of
How did
lose.
you approach it?
How did I approach it?
Tactics-wise,
So
what did you
tactically,
set up?
I was keen to catch down the edge
Yeah.
because it plumbs up nice. The wind was hacking across me, and I struggled to fish across properly. So it was like my only chance or hope is to catch down the edge or sort of down the middle.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, I've not really caught down the edge. I mean, I've had 4 kilo the first 3 ways, something like that, but I've had a bit of a nightmare with the cameraman next to me.
Really?
Because literally every time I go to fish down the edge, he would stand on the platform there in the water and film me. Apparently they've not even used any footage of me, but literally every time I've gone down to the margins, maybe he thought it was a good camera angle of me, but and you could tell the fish weren't happy with it, because when he stood on the platform, the fish would bolt out under the platform, and
Yeah.
it just wasn't.
It's one of those troubles with TV,
It is a
unfortunately. isn't it?
double-edged sword, because
Yeah.
if I did start catching, then it would have been worse, and the commotion would have been worse. So it just never felt like it was really going to happen.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with Fisher, you need a bit of luck like that, because there is
Oh, yeah, of course
too
you
many
do.
factors going on, and camera people and reporters and people that don't really know about fishing.
Yeah, no.
and know that we're fishing for living things that are scared of us. So yeah, I had 26 kilo in the end, 30 kilo on the section, and yeah.
Because last year I seem to remember you came from behind quite late on, didn't you, to finish second?
Yeah, I was sort of caught consistently, and then I had to sort of, I think it was a 4th hour, caught quite well.
Yeah.
But I was still a little way off of
So you only did the
McDonald's.
one practice match for fish out?
2 matches.
2 matches, sorry.
And a pleasure session.
And a pleasure session. Oh, okay.
And I actually pleasure fished 2 pegs away, back where Christian Jones was, and caught like 250 pound of big fish, and we didn't see a big fish. It was all tiny little F1s.
Yeah.
But they did catch bigger fish the other end of the lake where they framed. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things. We're fishing for living things. Like I said, they go and sit in the part of the lake where they want to sit, don't they?
Yeah. It's all about on the day, innit, conditions.
Yeah.
So, and that brings us up to the present day, which, as we said, on the day we're recording this, you've got the Maven Match this final at Hayfield this weekend.
Yeah.
Why?
So that's in a few days' time. I was there yesterday. I fished a practice match.
Yeah.
Came second in that. So I'm feeling quite confident going
Yeah.
into it.
How do you think you'll approach that?
Well, looking at the weather forecast, it's going to be probably like 22 degrees and maybe sunny, and so I'm expecting a lot of fish up in the water.
Yeah.
Which will suit me because I can fish pole shallow and waggler.
Do a bit of
I'm
magging?
happy doing that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And then
Bait wise, what do you take there?
it's mainly pellets like fishery.
Yeah.
Not allowed baits like meat. Fish corn and maggots down the edge, but I think it's open water. It's just going to be all out pellet fishing.
Way.
What's that?
Nobody likes to see that,
No.
as Andy May would say.
Oh well. So yeah, pellet fishing like we're doing today.
Yeah.
Bomb and pellet.
Bomb and pellet, what sort of gram have you got on there?
I think that's an ICM
That's
one.
the ICM
So
one,
that's
isn't
only
it?
a
The
little
mini
one.
ones.
Is it
Yeah.
10 gram?
Yeah.
Just a
10
nice
grams,
little
yeah.
plop.
Lovely.
And then I've got a 16 kkh for a banded 8mm pellet, like I'm feeding.
017 hook length.
Yeah, 017.
And an array of different colour pellets here.
Yeah, I've got a few hook baits. A few things to try.
Bolts.
Yeah, pinging a few 8mm over the top.
So you got the match this weekend.
Yeah, after that, I am going to mix it up a little bit, and I'm going to fish a couple of Riverfest qualifiers.
River?
Like I said,
You want a river?
yeah, like I said, I used to do a lot of river fishing on the Bristol Avon, natural venues, so it's nice to mix my fishing up a little bit.
We need to do that for a video. I haven't took you on a river yet. Or we haven't done a video
Yeah.
on a river yet.
The only trouble with rivers down my way is you've got lots of holiday makers and canoeists and swimmers everywhere. The last time I fished a match on there, I had a head pop up and a swimmer pop up on my bonus fish line on the far bank. It's not ideal all the time. It never used to be like that. But
No,
anyway,
we need to make that happen.
I'm going to do a couple of Riverfest qualifiers. I've done a couple already. I'm nearly qualified on the Stour. I come
Yeah.
second in my zone. I only had about £7. I fished one at Clanfield on the Thames as well, and I got it a little bit wrong because I've caught about 7 crayfish.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they were even crawling up my keep net. I pulled my keep net out the end, and there were about 5 or 6 of them clinging onto it like this. So I didn't. I mean, that's why the chub and that are so big, but I didn't
Yeah.
expect it to be that bad. But I've got a qualifier there next week, and I'm going to change it a little bit and feed less worms
Yeah.
this time. So I'm looking forward to that, and I've also got the final round of the UK Champs coming up,
Mhm.
of which we've fished 3 rounds already.
Yep.
I've had 2 wins and a second.
So where do you reckon you're sitting?
I think Steve Ringer's got 3 wins, and potentially I might be next best. I haven't looked at the table,
No.
so I could be like 2nd, 3rd or 4th around that area.
Yeah. What's the format of that?
So it's like a league really. 4 matches, sections of sort of 8 or 10, and it goes on points and then to weight if there's a tie. I've been doing it since 2013, I think.
Yeah.
I won it the first year I entered, and I've won it more times than anyone else. I won it 4 times now, so it's potential for the 5th. 5th time would be nice. It's a nice number, 5, isn't it? So yeah, we'll have another go for that.
Yeah.
Anything can happen at Barston. It's interesting venue. Lots of variety in what
Is it
you're
all at
fishing
Barston?
for. No, the final round's at Barston.
The
so
finals at Barston, yeah.
yeah, so we've had a round at Rookery, Hallcroft and Macon so far. Lots of travelling again. But yeah, final round to go, anything can happen, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Yep. And then you've got the Golden Reel final.
Yeah, Golden Reel
Larford,
final.
End of September?
Yeah, I think the Fish Midlands finals the day after that, if I
The day
qualify
after,
for that. But yeah, looking forward to Spessy Lake. Yeah, there's a potential there for anything can happen, like the qualifier. A few big fish can turn up, so anything can happen. And yeah, we'll see how lucky we get. After that, then I've got a few Whiting's festivals, hopefully the Park Dean final.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully I'll wind it down then for the winter.
Finally.
Yeah, and I like to mix it up a bit, do a bit of bass fishing, bit of pike fishing, just a bit of variety, because I like to mix it up.
So your weekends are just fishing.
Yeah.
So there you go. If you want to know what the calendar looks like of someone like Andy Power, there it is. And if you want to see Andy Power on a river, leave a comment below and we'll have to make that happen. Do a video on there for the Preston YouTube channel. And
Yeah, if
I'm
you
going to carry on sitting here in my lovely feeder chair because watching Andy Power bag up.
well, maybe I'll make you fish now.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Why not?
I don't know about that.
You
I will get you snagged in that tree down there.
Oh, no. No. So I don't know if you know, but I do a monthly diary piece in Match Fishing magazine. So if you want to know more detail about the matches I fish on a regular basis, check that out. And
There we go.
if you want to see more video content, check out Preston YouTube channel,
Yeah. Don't forget to like, subscribe,
and you'll see more action like this.
leave a comment down below. And I'm going to watch Andy Power lose this, and then.
What do you mean lose this? Don't lose
Anyway.
them.
Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.
See ya.